Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin insurance agent in Clinton. My guest in this segment of the show today, Bob Asmussen, Illini HQ beat writer. Good morning, Bob. How are you, sir?
I'm great. How about you?
Doing good. Thanks for asking. I appreciate you making time for us as well to talk all things Illinois sports. And Bob, Illinois has a first-team all-defensive back and the Defensive Player of the Year, Devin Witherspoon. What a season that young man had.
Yeah, and I think what you'll see here in the next couple days, he's up for a national award, the Thorpe Award, which was the nation's best defense back. I think he will win that award. I'm pretty sure. I'm not a voter in that. I vote for like 10 things. I'm not a voter in that award, but I believe he will win that award based on what he's done this year, his reputation as a defensive back. He's going to be a first-round draft pick in April. So he's a guy, everybody knows how good he is. He made that defense so much better, how well he played this year and last year. So I think I wouldn't say a lock for that award, but really likely to win that award. So a pretty good deal for him.
Yeah. Now he's a kid, Bob, if I'm not mistaken, that really kind of stuck with Illinois through the thick and thin of the, transition from Lovie Smith to Brett Bielema. I mean, he really stuck it out to stay with Illinois, and it's nice to see kids like that do well.
Oh, definitely. He's a guy that he has to go pro this year. He's ready to go. He will be, like I said, a high pick. But yeah, again, give Lovie Smith credit for bringing in. Most of the guys that got all Big Ten were his recruits. So it's a big deal. Devin Witherspoon, Lovie Smith saw him and said, that guy can play for me. And he definitely has. And I think Brett Bielema and his staff have done a really good job of developing these guys.
Yeah, right.
Making them better. But I do think that Witherspoon is really been a treat to watch, a good guy off the field. So really happy for him, happy for all the great work he's done. Yeah,
and that's an interesting conversation piece you bring up there, Bob, about the guys that Lovie Smith brought in, but Brett Bielema and his staff, kind of finished the developmental piece of that. Who deserves more credit in your mind?
Well, split it, honestly, because Lovie Smith saw these guys and decided they could play at a high level. He was right, and whether or not he got them there in terms of the all sideline stuff, development stuff, that's another question. But again, the Bielema staff has done a good job taking what they had and making the best of it. The fact that, and I've talked about this in columns, the fact that they've won 8 games this year already with a chance to win the 9th, it's pretty amazing given where they were. So
right. And sorry, Bob, I didn't mean to cut you off there. Sorry. One thing, as I was watching the Illinois kind of hit a rough stretch there. They lost to Purdue, they lost to Michigan, and there was another one in there that was a pretty Michigan State. Right. and you brought up something, Bob, that I was kind of thinking about. Like in those moments, I'm sitting there thinking these losses are just brutal, like just terrible losses. But I now that the season's over and you wait on a bowl game for where you're going to go, at some point in the next month, you can sit back and say, man, Illinois winning 8 games this year was quite an accomplishment. But in those moments of losing to Michigan State and Purdue, coming so close against Michigan, you're like pulling your hair out. In my case, I don't have any more, but you're pulling your hair out like, what is going on with this team? It's an interesting kind of dichotomy, if you will.
Well, it's good for Illinois fans now to care about that stuff. There was a 10-year stretch where that team was not competitive. Now they are. So now they're going to be a little unhappy when you lose a close game. That happens. Nobody's played Michigan better this year than Illinois. They should have won that game. They didn't win the game. Michigan's going to be in the playoffs for sure. So I think giving Illinois credit for playing that game close. Should they beat Purdue, Indiana, and Michigan State? Probably. That didn't happen. But again, 8 wins this year compared to where they've been is pretty much a miracle.
Mm-hmm. Totally. On the offensive side, Bob, just personally, I told you off the air, I don't really get into these things. Like they don't rile me up. They don't really move the needle much for me. But for some odd reason, Chase Brown on second team all conference is just a disgrace. What is going on? What happened in this vote?
Well, I think the voters looked at a couple of things. First of all, they looked at a guy from Michigan whose team's undefeated. Hey, that guy's a lock to be on that team. Then the second pick came down to Abraham and Chase Brown. I think some voters, not all of the voters, some voters decided Abraham, who was really a critical part of the team, was more important to his team, be a little bit more worthy. Now, there's going to be an AP team. It comes out early next week. I believe Chase Brown will be on that team. I'm a voter in that one. I was not a voter in this one, so don't blame me for the one that came out yesterday. But the one coming out next week, they have a spot basically for a third player that could be a running back or receiver. I think Chase Brown will be on the first team there. They'll kind of rectify some of the. I don't think the player cares. I think they, obviously it's a great honor to be first team All Big Ten, but I think the fact that they're getting recognition at all is a good thing. So I don't think the players care. I think the fans care. I think the coaches really care. I think the media cares. So there's a lot of why did this happen? I wrote about it in today's paper, but I do think it'll solve itself out. The other thing is Chase Brown is up for the Doug Walker Award. I'm not sure when, but that's one of the best running backs in the country. He's one of the final three. So that the fact that he's in that competition is really important.
Yeah. I just look at, he's for most of the season, he's been an All-American candidate. He might just be an All-American. He's been a Heisman candidate for most of the year. Like, I don't want to take away from the Ibrahim kid because I was really impressed with him against Illinois, and he's a big kid. He's a strong runner. He's going to be a great pro, I think. But my God, I don't know how as a voter, I know you weren't one, but just as a voter, I don't know how you can not vote for him first team All Big Ten with the year he's had. But all that aside, Bob, Illinois 8 wins this year. I know you told me, I think week 1 or 2 we caught up, and you thought Illinois could win 8 games this year. So you really nailed it, my friend.
Did I really say that? Because I said a lot of things.
You did. I remember you saying that.
I'll take credit for that. I thought they could win as many as 8. Turns out they could have won 10 or 11, but they won 8. That's, again, really good. They're ahead of the curve. I want to see how they come back next year. I think they'll be fine. I think you'll see this coaching staff dive into this portal, bring a bunch of new players here, and try to keep this thing going, which is, to me, really critical.
Yeah.
To come back next year, win 7 or 8 games again, go to another bowl. I think that's vital for them.
Yep, no question. The schedule will get tougher next year too, if I'm not mistaken. So, we'll look forward to that as well. But Bob, in terms of bowl games, have you? And I don't really follow, the possibilities of where guys are going to go. Like, it's kind of like bracket seeding for the tournament. Like, I never really pay attention to a lot of that stuff. But your thoughts on where Illinois could end up for a bowl, or have you even thought about that or tracked it?
Thought a lot about that, tracked a lot. In fact, I'm going to call some bowl officials later today. So, yes, I think there's about 3 or 4 options. The best ones seem to be the Citrus Bowl is an option. The former Outback Bowl, which is called something I can't remember. Tampa game is an option. I think the Music City Bowl in Nashville is a big option, which I know you'd appreciate. And then I think the Duke's Mayo Bowl, which I believe is in Charlotte, is an option. So I think there's 4 or 5 options for Illinois. If I had to guess right now, I'd say probably Nashville, but maybe Florida as well. I think into those games, frankly, when you haven't been to a big bowl in a long time, into those games is a good thing.
Yeah.
But playing on January 1 or 2 would be really cool.
Oh, man. Yeah. Those are big time bowls you're talking about too. Now, isn't the Outback Bowl, is that in Tennessee, or did Tennessee just play in that game several times?
Which bowl?
The former Outback Bowl. I don't know what it is now.
Okay, that's in Tampa.
Tampa. Got it. Okay, very good. Bob, so with bowl games, you've got guys that have draft stock on the line. Chase Brown, Devin Witherspoon, some guys on the offensive line, guys on defense have draft stock at stake. Do you see some kids from Illinois sit out this bowl game with that in mind?
Absolutely. I think Chase Brown will sit out. I think Sidney Brown will sit out. I think Devin Witherspoon will sit out. I think a couple of linemen, offensive linemen will sit out. Maybe 1 or 2 defensive linemen. So that team is going to be not the team we saw all year in the bowl. But remember, the team they're playing, whoever that is, whether it be Kentucky or Mississippi State or wherever it is, they'll be missing kids too. So to me, that's kind of washed. And again, the last thing I would want to see happen, I'll tell you the truth, It's Chase Brown to go to that bowl game, tear his knee up or tear his ankle up or something, and have it affect his pro career.
Yeah.
So to me, I don't feel like I can tell the guys, you have to play. No, you do not have to play. You have to think about your future, and you did a great job to get Illinois to where they are now. You got them the bowl. So let's see what happens. I think Illinois will be fine in the bowl, no matter who's on the team. They got a lot of backups. That'll be fine. But I do think there'll be a handful of players, maybe more, that do not play in the bowl. One guy that I'm sure will play in the bowl, I think is very important, is Tommy DeVito.
Mm-hmm.
So I think with him on the field, Illinois has a chance to beat pretty much anybody they play against.
Yeah. Do you feel like Tommy DeVito has been underappreciated this year? Like, he's not all Big Ten or anything like that, but man, the kid has played quarterback at a level Illinois hasn't seen in some time. Like, he has been, right. I feel like he's been kind of the X factor for them this year.
I agree totally. I think probably the best quarterback in Illinois since Nathan Shieldhouse.
Yeah, totally.
I think he's the best since 10. That's a nice company to keep. The other thing, I can't say this enough, Illinois is going to try to get him back for another year. And it seems like a crazy idea. It doesn't seem possible that he could come back, but they're going to try. And if he comes back, the difference between that team next year with him on the field and him not on the field is huge. So I think if they get him back for another year, which is possible, I think you're going to look at a much better outlook for Illinois in 2023.
Bob, talk to me quickly about guys that could step up in a bowl game that maybe we haven't seen on the field much this year, like particularly, maybe skill guys or even like offensive linemen, defensive linemen that maybe we'll see next year. How about that?
Well, I think Reggie Love is first stop. He's the running back who had a really good end of this year. Mm-hmm. He's a highly touted guy. I think he will be the starter if Chase Brown doesn't play, which I think will be the case. So I think that's one. There's a bunch of younger offensive linemen. The coach has just been waiting to get in. And I think most of the offensive linemen, frankly, will play in the bowl. I think Palczewski still loyal to Illinois. He has a career record for most starts in college football history. He's gonna play. I bet he'll play. I think all the linemen. Frankly, I think all the linemen, maybe except for one, will play in the bowl, and that'll be huge. I think DeVito, again, Illinois got a pretty nice team. Defensively, there's some younger guys, but again, a lot of those guys are going to be back next year. If you're going to be back next year, you're going to play. So they'll be fine defensively. Illinois has a really good guy running the show, so I think they'll be good. Well, I think they'll play well in the bowl.
A guy I want to highlight real quick before we go to break, and I don't know his first name. Is it Jassis? I don't remember what his
Yeah, Gabe Yakas.
Yes.
It's got a J at the start of it, spelled Yakas.
Yakas. And he reminds me a lot of Jason Pierre-Paul. Like long, athletic, crazy athleticism. I mean, that dude is a diamond in the rough that Illinois found, and he is just a whale of a player.
I'll give you another one that reminds me of Simeon Rice.
Yeah, Simeon Rice, so sure. Good one. That's a real good one.
Different body types somewhat. But again, high motor guy that got after the quarterback, he is going to be a star. And the best thing about him is he's a freshman.
Hey, yeah, you got 2 more years of that kid.
two more, well, I promise after two more years, so he has to play through your junior year. But I promise he'll be gone after the junior year. But he's got 2 more years. He's going to be a high-level sack guy in the next couple of years. Mm-hmm. I think opponents will start to prepare for him. He's only going to get better.
Oh, yeah, so and bigger.
He's really huge.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if he takes a run in the record for sacks of the season.
Ooh, nice. Yeah, no, and I'll tell you what, Bob, like a lot of this just gets me hyped up for recruiting. Like I know the momentum there is probably like you're probably not finding it in terms of like the, if you follow the recruiting on the websites and stuff or the World Wide Web, like you're probably not seeing it there. But I venture a guess a lot of this is really building up on the recruiting trail. What have you heard there, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, definitely. It definitely helped me. They're in homes now. They're getting after kids they wouldn't have had a chance to get after, because what recruits waited for was for the Illinois program to show them they can win. So now that's been done. So now the players think about maybe Illinois would be a good option for me. they see a program that's on the rise, it'd be pretty easy for them to draw guys. Another thing is, Brett Bielema doesn't mind going after guys that are already committed to another school. So it's credit. I think that's great because that's been done in Illinois for years.
Yeah.
So why not turn the table, go after a kid that maybe is committed to Iowa or Wisconsin or whatever, take a run at them, do it nicely, do it politely, but go after that kid and try to bring him in. I think the recruiting class is going to be really good this year, really, really good next year.
Good deal. Bob, let's take a time out, my man. Come back with some more. Bob Asmussen, Illini HQ beat writer, on the phone with us. More to come with him on the morning show. WHOW.
Let's check the markets now on the RFD Radio Network. I'm Jim Taylor. Corn, beans, and wheat all trading lower at this hour. December corn 6.56 3/4, down 5 1/4. March corn down 3 1/4, 6.63 3/4. May corn 6.62, down 3 1/4. January beans 14.52 1/2, down 17. March beans down 16 3/4, 14.58 3/4. May beans 14.66 1/4, down 16 1/2. December Chicago wheat 7.62 1/4, down 9 1/4. March wheat down 8, 7.87 1/2. January bean meal 424.20, up 6.40. January bean oil 67.52, down 4.36. January feeders in the livestock market 180.37, down a dime. December live cattle down 30 cents, 152.77. December lean hogs 82.87, down 2 cents. In the energy market, January crude oil 83.10, up 2.55. Jim Taylor, RFD Radio Network.
Are you a friend of agriculture? This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton. We're giving a $500 Friends of Ag discount to anyone that orders a new Chevrolet or Buick to be built just for you this month. Are you a friend of ag? You are if you're a member of any ag organization, employed by any ag-related business, including research, inputs, manufacturing, sales, and marketing, and of course, ag education. Come in, order yours today. BaumChevyBuick.com, right from the start.
Here's owner Dave Jackson from your Clinton Save-A-Lot on how inflation is affecting all of us.
I noticed an article about what companies were doing. Instead of just saying, here I am, I should be hiding in the closet, not talking about this, because you don't want to talk about what's really happening. Then it isn't happening. So I'm not afraid to bring up the fact that inflation is out of control on groceries everywhere.
Despite that, Dave still provides you selection and savings every day at your Clinton Save-A-Lot.
Hope to see you soon.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Once again, good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin insurance agent in Clinton. Bob Asmussen, Illini HQ beat writer, my guest on the phone here for this morning. Bob, Illinois basketball, they are rolling. Big win over Syracuse in the Big Ten ACC Challenge, and Illinois starting to pick up some momentum in the national rankings as well. How about the basketball team, sir?
They're playing kind of like you thought they could or would, just didn't know for sure because of all the new parts. Those guys are playing really well across the board. They're finding, I think, again, give credit to Brett Underwood for finding guys that could fit his system, play well, play at a high level. Obviously, they had a great game the other day. Coleman Hawkins was special. Triple doubles, I think maybe it's fifth in school history. That's pretty special. So give him a lot of credit for hanging in there. I think he's thrilled to get it. But all the guys, they're just playing well, and it's been a really good. Matthew Myers playing well. It's a really good team with a great chance to have a deep run in March.
I'm just surprised how quickly it's coming together. It doesn't feel like this group has needed the floor time to gel. I mean, it just feels like it's a cohesive unit, and we're 3-4 weeks into the season.
You're right. It's just, again, give the credit to the coach step to start, but also the guys. They came in with open minds, had a bunch of new teammates. The holdovers are doing a good job kind of working them in. And I just really impressed by how quickly it came together. And there's talent there. That's no question. There's a lot of talent. And that helps with the scheduled testing. Obviously, play Maryland next and then Texas next week. So it's kind of a crazy schedule for Illinois. they've seen some good teams, and they're doing a good job against those good teams.
They play Texas next week?
They do.
Oh, my gosh. Aren't they like second in the country now?
They are.
Oh, nice. What a game.
Actually, Texas has a warm-up game against Creighton tonight, actually, at home. Then the two teams meet New York City and Madison Square Garden next week.
Nice. That'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Good venue for Illinois for sure. Yeah, and just with the basketball, Bob, I have to confess, the last couple of games I've had to miss with my schedule for high school sports, so I haven't really gotten a close look at them. You mentioned Max Meyer, Meyer, whatever his name is. He was a guy I was really, really looking forward to coming over from Baylor. In your mind, how has he looked? Because it doesn't feel like he's made the Terrence Shannon, Sky Clark, Coleman Hawkins noise. How about him?
Well, I think he struggled a little bit early. Again, maybe trying to find his role, but it seems like he's finding more and more. He'll be a guy down the road when they get in punch situations in the Big Ten and the NCAA tournament. He'll be a guy you can turn to for a big shot, for a big rebound. I think his experience is going to be really invaluable. So I think they're really in good shape with him. Terrence Shannon has been obviously a star and kind of what Illinois hoped he would be. He's playing better now than he's ever had in his career. He's a guy that's making himself some money because pro teams are looking at him saying, okay, mark him down. That guy can play at a high level. And Sky Clark's playing a lot of day.
Yeah.
Again, they got a lot of guys still doing a good job for them. Right?
Yeah. And it's crazy because these other freshmen, with Sky Clark that came in this year, I mean, they've got tremendous potential, and they're kind of being overshadowed by everybody, which I don't think is the worst thing. I mean, if there was a lot of pressure on them and nobody was playing well, everybody would really be looking to those guys to step up, but they really haven't needed to, which is probably nice for them and the coaching staff.
Yeah, and I like the balance of the team. I like the fact that one game Coleman Hawkins can come through and play great, and the next game Terrence Shannon can come through and play great. Matthew Meyer. There's a bunch of guys. It could be Melendez, another guy. A lot of guys can come through in big games, and I think that makes them hard to play.
Yeah.
Because if you're the opponent, you're looking at the line, you're like, which guy do I stop? Well, I know I got to stop Shannon. I know I got to stop Meyer. I know I got to, guy after guy after guy.
Yeah.
It's hard to play against. And I think Brad Underwood and staff are pretty good at figuring out who's got the hand, who's gets the ball to. It's working out really well for them so far.
Bob Asmussen, Illini HQ beat writer. Bob, always good to talk to you, sir. Network news on the way on the morning show.
The Big 1520 WHOW Clinton, 92.3 FM, W222 BG Clinton, 106.5 FM, W293 DJ Normal Bloomington.